Now, for those of you that watch the Boot Nerds podcast that I do with J Mike from Unisport, we recently posted an episode where I was extremely harsh in my criticism for a pair of limited edition football boots that I thought were quite simply the ugliest thing in the world, questioning who in their right mind would ever buy them. Well, the limited edition Adidas Copa Mundial 21 Primeknit, bearing a retail price of $250 and seen here in a combination of purple, pink, orange, and white, kind of similar to the recently released Super Spectral pack from the Adi brand, but more or less a remake of the 2014 Samba pack Copa Mundial, which was found in a very similar color combo that I actually reviewed on the channel all those years ago.
If you guys are interested in more information on the overall performance of the Copa Mundial, such as how...
But it's not just a colorway remake that nobody was asking for, it's also a physical remake of the Copa 70, which was a limited edition variant of the Copa Mundial that came out in 2019, celebrating the 70th anniversary of the boot, where you had a leather base and a Primeknit overlay. The difference this time around, however, aside from just the color, is the updated sole plate tooling, which is taken directly from the current Copa Sense. And I'm gonna stick to my guns in saying that I don't think this is a good colorway at all, especially given who would even be interested in a football boot like this in the first place. I'm assuming a die-hard fan of the Copa Mundial. They probably don't want something that's purple and pink, but what I will say and what I'm kind of a little bit disappointed in is how much I like the feel of this football boot, and that's more so what I want to focus on in this video, because these are really ugly football boots that actually happen to feel really good. I'm going to talk about why that is in today's video. We'll do a full technical breakdown, take a look at them on feet as well, and effectively cover everything that you need to know, determining whether or not these might actually be worth their $250 retail price. Speaking of which, if you are interested in a pair for yourself, you can actually get them below their normal retail price with some SR4U coupon codes by clicking the first link down below, because believe it or not, even though these have been out for about a week and a half now, they haven't sold out. As always, if you guys do end up enjoying the video and want to see more reviews of limited edition football boots and products on the channel, don't forget to support this one with a like. And I've also noticed that a lot of you guys who watch these reviews aren't actually subscribed to the channel. If that's you, it would mean a lot to me if you could hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live. Very quickly, I just want to comment on the colorway, and while my opinions on the boot haven't really changed from that podcast, when I made those opinions on the podcast, I had yet to see the boots in person, and admittedly, the colors in general look better in person, but it's still a purple and pink Copa, which again has a very, very limited market. What I do think is kind of cool is all of the little details in terms of having kind of the stitching pattern of the standard Copa Mundial knitted into the surface of the Primeknit. I kind of like the jagged edges on all of the lines to kind of make out the different elements of the Copa. Like you can see that rounded edge and the line. It's just a little bit off because they can't get it perfect due to the knitted nature of the top layer. I like the fact that all the Adi branding is embroidered. Same thing for the Copa logo right there. And it's also worth noting that the sole plate, while it is pink in color, it is a wearable finish, so it will chip off as you play in the boots, whoever that might be. Now, when it comes to the performance side of things, I've often talked about on this channel how I think a lot of people these days put way too much value into the way a product looks versus how it fits, feels, and ultimately performs. And while I went on a whole rant on how I think these are extremely ugly and I would never buy them specifically for that reason, when it comes to comfort, because the performance side of things I don't think is that impressive with this boot, but when it does come to comfort, I think it's the most comfortable boot Adidas makes right now. And again, it's worth noting that this is not the first time we've seen this type of upper from the Adi brand. We got it back in 2019 on that Copa 70, which I intended on reviewing, but never actually did, because I got them like a month or a month and a half after they released, just because they were on back order for so long. So I just ended up skipping over them. Nonetheless, having these on my feet, I was incredibly impressed at how soft and comfortable and honestly just slipper-like they feel. Now, the upper is unusual in that you can see on the surface it is exposed Primeknit. It has the texture and softness of literally a pair of socks. There's no other way to describe it. And then on the inside of the boot, and maybe it's a little bit difficult to see, it's actually lined in kangaroo leather. Same thing goes for the heel liner. what you would typically find on the outside of a football boot is what's happening on the inside of this boot. It's kind of like an upper that's been reversed, I guess, for the sake of making a modern variant of the classic Copa Mundial. There's not a lot of logic behind it. I think it's more so a thing that they've done for looks. But when it comes to comfort, honestly, it just feels fantastic. Super soft, super flexible, and because this is sitting on top of the modern Copa Sense tooling, while it kind of looks like a classic Copa Mundial and does follow a lot of similar construction elements to a certain extent, they end up feeling a lot more modern in terms of shape, a little bit wider all the way through. And in terms of out-of-the-box comfort, I just think they're way more comfortable than a pair of classic Copas, which may sound crazy to say, but I was just so impressed with the feel on feet. Incredible comfort aside, everything else about this boot is fairly mediocre, if not kind of questionable, starting with the Primeknit surface that you have on this upper, which is just extremely slick on the ball. If I had to compare the feel of this boot to anything else out there, take a pair of regular Copas or even a regular pair of kangaroo leather football boots and then stretch a sock over top of the entire boot while you're wearing it. That's essentially the feel that these have on offer. You can definitely feel the softness and padding and just quality sensation that you get from a nice kangaroo leather upper, but the surface has been kind of made super slick with this Primeknit material that's effectively just a soft sock. And how this is going to wear long term, it's really, really difficult to say, but it provides no additional grip on the ball. In fact, it just makes it slippery on the ball, which you might actually like. It's ultimately a personal preference thing, but I just don't think that it makes a lot of sense from a performance standpoint, which is part of the reason why this is a limited edition release. I'm not sure that this is a boot that Adidas intended for a lot of people to actually wear long term. Nonetheless, it does feature or kind of follow similar construction elements to that of the classic Copa Mundial, where it does have a central lacing system that runs nice and deep, and then a standalone tongue with the traditional Copa Mundial fold-over flap. The difference, of course, is that the surface layer is made out of Primeknit, and then the underside is made out of pink kangaroo leather, which feels really cool. You can even see when you fold the tongue over, it has the same general shape as a classic Copa, even has a hard time staying down, but it just, I mean, it's there for looks. Internally, you're gonna find a really good quality leather heel liner with plenty of padding that does differ from a regular Copa Mundial, where I just prefer this. It feels significantly more modern. I think that has a lot to do with the pairing of the modern Copa Sense tooling. And then the insole is fully removable and is, of course, shared with the Copa, where you're gonna find it has this soft kind of synthetic suede lining on the surface, and then a memory foam insert in the heel made from a single layer of ortholite foam, which, come to think of it, this is actually the insole not from the Copa Sense, but the Copa 20 that it replaced. As for the base, like I mentioned, you're going to find the Sense frame taken directly from the new Copa Sense model, which is a much improved sole plate in my opinion when compared to previous modern Copas, but I think the criticism you can have about it is that it's just chunkier than it needs to be. It flexes nicely, it has good rigidity through the heel and midfoot, but it's just bulkier than what I think was necessary, although I do like the little kind of mock external heel counter at the back of the boot. I think it looks quite cool with the modern Copa styling, even with the pink and purple combo. As for the stud pattern, it's a little bit more aggressive than what we've seen on past modern Copas, certainly more aggressive than what you're gonna find on a classic Copa Mundial, where you do have this combination of kind of like these half circle, somewhat bladed studs, and then more of like a conical style stud with a little bit of kind of a bladed edge to it, if you wanna call it that. Overall, it's kind of the same layout we're used to seeing from the Adi brand, and certainly not the most aggressive they have on offer, but it gets the job done. And then of course, as part of the new Copa Sense, you are going to find the soft studs, which are these two studs here in orange, made from a slightly softer rubber material that are supposed to flex upon impact for the sake of better control, which is basically one of the biggest gimmicks in modern football boots right now. And I can guarantee you these studs are not going to improve your control on the ball. And then when it comes to weight, unsurprisingly, this is not a particularly lightweight football boot by modern top-end boot standards. In a size 9.5 US, you can see that the boots weigh in at 10.15 ounces, the equivalent of 288 grams, which is still roughly half an ounce lighter than what you're gonna find from a classic Copa Mundial, but again, not a football boot that's gonna feel very light on your feet. So here they are on feet in all of their purple and pink glory, made at least a little bit better looking with the pairing of some white Pure Grip Socks Pro, which for those that don't know is my own brand of grip socks. The new Pro variation just came out, features an upgraded material over regular Pure Grip socks that are available right now in either black or white for just $16.99 a pair. If you're interested in trying some out for yourself, the website to visit is puregripsocks.com, which of course will be linked down below. Now, in terms of comfort, these feel really good. And the reason why they feel so good is you really get that direct connection with the kangaroo leather because it's directly against your foot. There's not even a liner, you're just right up on the leather, and then the Primeknit is on the outside, which doesn't really restrict the softness in any way at all. So in terms of flexibility and just the way the upper feels against your foot and moves with your foot, it's really above average. The boots are remarkably comfortable, and then the nice deep central lacing system, the shape of the Copa Sense, it just makes the boot feel really, really nice out of the box. Now there are a few kind of signature Copa elements like the big fold over flap tongue, where I have the tongues up right now. You can try to fold them down, but they really aren't going to stay down. It kind of takes a lot of time and having them close pinned down when you're not wearing them to make sure that they stay down. A lot of people cut them off. Just depends, everyone wears their Copas a little bit differently. They tie the laces over top of the tongue folded down. I personally don't like how that looks. And you'll also notice that I have them tied around the midfoot and on the underside because they've actually included laces that are super long, like a pair of classic Copas, which I think is a neat little touch, although completely unnecessary on a modern pair of football boots. As far as width is concerned, they have plenty of width to them. This is one of those football boots that's going to fit just about anybody, even if you do have wide feet. And then as far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing these in my usual size 9.5 US, and the fit and the length is perfect. So unlike classic Copa Mundials that have this kind of weird sizing system, these do run true to size like pretty much most other Adi products. So in conclusion, I'm a little bit conflicted because as horribly ugly as these are, they're also incredibly comfortable. And that is arguably the most important element when you're talking about any pair of football boots. But when you factor in everything else, even putting aside the looks, I think that the finish of Primeknit on the surface just makes for this unnecessarily slippery feel on the ball, and it just adds an element of bulk that doesn't necessarily need to be there because it's not really adding any structure to the upper. The Copa Sense tooling is not incredible, but it definitely gets a pass. The boot certainly could be lighter, and for $250, I think you should expect a little bit more. But what I will say is Adidas has been on a little bit of a tear lately with these modern Copa Mundial remakes featuring modern Copa tooling. And for whatever reason, these ones feel more comfortable than those ones do, even though I kind of would be more inclined to wear the other Copa remakes before these. What I would love to see is a variant of this football boot in a far more normal colorway without the Primeknit on the surface. I think that's something that could be really cool, and I think something at a much lower price point, maybe to compete against Nike's Premier line, that would be something that I think a lot of people would be super interested in. But as this is for $250 and purple and pink, unless you absolutely love the colorway and you like a super slippery touch on the ball, it's probably not one of those boots that I would recommend. Anyways, guys, that's it for my review. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to support it with a like. Again, if you're interested in a pair for yourself, first link down below, go ahead and check it out. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to ask them down below in the comment section, and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you. If you're not subscribed to the channel already, make sure you hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.